over feedback loops in the environment. We'll just go ahead and define what a feedback loop is and connect to what we did last week, which was looking at nutrient cycles and the different systems on Earth. We looked specifically at the atmosphere, which is the gas surrounding the Earth, the hydrosphere, which is all water on Earth, the lithosphere, which is the crust and upper mantle of the Earth, and the biosphere, which includes all life on Earth. We know that these interact, and now we're going to look at a bit more how exactly are they interacting with each other and what effects does that have on the environment. For this lesson, there's 4 different topics or objectives that we will go over that you will be tested on. First 2 are just defining negative feedback loops and positive feedback loops. 2 different types of feedback loops. Third one is outline a feedback loop in the environment. And fourth one is explain how Earth systems interact via nutrient cycles. First, let's just recap our interacting systems. Like I was saying before, we have our hydrosphere, which is all water, biosphere, which is all life, atmosphere, which is all air, and sometimes you'll see it as geosphere instead of lithosphere. Really, I would prefer lithosphere because it's specific to the crust and upper mantle, and the geosphere is going to include everything on Earth, which I think is a bit redundant if you're trying to separate this from these other systems, but that's just me. I like this diagram because it shows how every system can interact with every other system, and that's really what we're looking at in environmental science. Each of Earth's systems are connected by nutrients and resources that flow between them, also energy. I think I forgot to note that. So we looked at carbon cycle. Carbon can move between the biosphere and atmosphere through photosynthesis, especially when plants take in carbon dioxide gas and release oxygen gas. There's that interaction. When humans burn fossil fuels that we find in the lithosphere or geosphere, that carbon from oil sinks in the ground, go into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide gas. The extra carbon dioxide gas, when mixed with water, can make acid rain, and we see some ocean acidification, which is just when the ocean itself has a lower pH, and it can end up killing a lot of animals. So we see that interaction between these 3, and so on. That's just a few examples. Our bottom line here is that a change in energy or matter in one system can cause unexpected changes in another system. This is called the law of unintended consequences. So if humans are burning fossil fuels, we know that we're taking the oil and natural gas from the ground and we're changing that directly. The unintended consequence is poor air quality, killing off biodiversity, ocean acidification, all these different things because these systems are linked. So let's go into feedback loops and defining those. Sometimes an event is both a cause and effect in the environment. This means that a change in one system causes an effect in that same system, and this is called a feedback loop. A feedback loop can either be negative or positive. And it's a little confusing because negative and positive sounds like bad and good. So negative feedback loop is bad, positive feedback loop is good. No, 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 no. That that is not the case. It should say negative and positive feedback does not mean bad or good. That's just a common misconception. A negative feedback loop can be quite positive or quite good for the system, and a positive feedback loop can cause bad effects, which you'll see in a moment here. So here's an example of a feedback loop in the body. If your body gets too hot, it sends a signal to the brain, and then the brain tells the body to start sweating, body cools. So this is one loop right here. We're looking at body temperature. Body's hot, brain says that's not good, let's start sweating, body cools down. Or on the flip side, if you were to get too cold, the body will send a signal to the brain. The brain says let's start shivering, and then the body warms up. This is an example of a negative feedback loop. In a negative feedback loop, an initial change causes an effect that stabilizes the system back to normal. So in this case, we're going from hot to cold, like let's cool down, let's go back to normal. That's a negative feedback loop. Here's another example, a little bit more complex. So this is one you would see in the environment. Starting with one, humans burn fossil fuels and release excess carbon dioxide gas. The greenhouse effect traps heat in the Earth's atmosphere. I don't think we've talked too much about what the greenhouse effect is. Basically, certain molecules in the atmosphere act as a blanket to trap heat. Carbon dioxide is one of those gases. So, sun releases solar radiation, and these molecules will trap that. This will make temperatures go up. So when the temperatures go up, glaciers will melt, releasing more carbon dioxide gas and methane. That's CH4. That's another type of greenhouse gas. So you see more carbon dioxide is being released. And this is our cycle here. More carbon dioxide is released, more heat is trapped. When more heat gets trapped, the glaciers melt more, releasing more carbon dioxide. And you see it's a vicious cycle. Overall, the consequence is that global temperatures will increase drastically, and there's nothing to really stop them from increasing. This is an example of a positive feedback loop. Positive feedback loops have the opposite effect of negative feedback loops. Instead of stabilizing the system, the feedback loop pushes the system to the extreme. Positive feedback loops are relatively rare in nature, but they are common in environmental systems changed by people. So like in this example, humans were this first initial change, releasing excess carbon dioxide, kicking off this feedback loop. That's all I have for you. For your assignment today, I will have you read an article about wildfires. As you know, that's kind of a hot topic right now, no pun intended. But these wildfires have gotten increasingly worse for a long, long time. And scientists have been predicting for almost a decade now that these wildfires will go unchecked and it will just continue to get worse because of a positive feedback loop relationship that these wildfires have with climate change and human behavior. So I will have you read that article and answer some questions that are attached. If you have any questions, just let me know and I will help you out.